You're listening to Blast Podcasting, Episode 10.
Final Fantasy IX rocks. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Blast Podcasting. This is Anthony.
And this is Xander.
I kind of upped the radio voice there, homie.
Yeah, you got up there a little bit.
Yeah, I don't have a really deep voice, so it's not really deep when I up the voice or down the voice, whatever.
Well, I mean, we got a pretty interesting show this episode, and we're going to start off first talking about some movie talk. A trailer that just debuted this week from recording, and that is Joker with Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like a Scorsese film.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily, but is that a bad thing for a comic book movie? Might be.
Yeah, it's very different to me. It makes me think of it gave me the same feeling as when Fox debuted Logan, where it was like, this isn't really a superhero movie, but it's a superhero movie.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, very weird. But here's the thing. Logan turned out good.
Mm-hmm.
This might turn out good.
Yeah,
I don't think this is going to have a humorous tone. I think this is why I prefer the DC films mostly because they're a little bit more darker and edgier, and not edgy to be edgy, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, they have a different kind of tone to it,
and I think that's what hurt Justice League because they were trying to be a Marvel movie.
It's what hurt Aquaman.
Yeah. I've heard Shazam is good. I'm going to go see it Saturday, I think.
I have to admit, I'm really stoked about Shazam because a lot of people that I've talked to have seen it, have really liked it, and they said it almost feels like a 90s comedy, if that makes any sense.
I've been told a different analogy. It feels like it has the darkness of, say, something like Goonies or Gremlins to it.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I'm pretty pumped, because they said the trailers, which showed the more humorous pieces, aren't really representative of the movie.
Yeah,
that's what I've heard. So
that's not necessarily a bad thing, because, I mean, the way things are now, like a good example would be like the new Pet Sematary.
I want to see that too.
I've heard that everything that was worth watching that movie, it was like in the trailer. And I hate it when movies do that. Like, you can watch the trailer and be done with it.
I've heard Pet Sematary is really good, though. I've heard,
yeah,
and I heard it's really good. So that might not be the case. Real quick before we talk about Joker, there's 3 movies out, and I'm spending money on games. Fuck, but instead of movies. But there's Shazam, Pet Sematary, and I also want to see Hellboy.
Yeah, I want to see the new Hellboy. It looks pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. But as for Joker, though. Yeah, it looks like a Scorsese film. And that's not a surprise because he is involved in that. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a producer. Huh. And think about it, like Robert De Niro's in there too. Mm-hmm. Go figure, right? Scorsese, De Niro. And I know producer's a very loose term, but I've heard that when Spielberg or Scorsese or some of those guys get involved in certain films, they kind of add their flavor to it regardless.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like, I don't know, and I won't go into detail about this, but you've heard about the Poltergeist issue, right? That movie, the original Poltergeist.
Yeah.
Where there's a debate over who directed. Was it Spielberg or was it Tobe Hooper?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. But I don't know, Joker will be good. Kind of hope, it's kind of funny because it's repeating what Venom did last year.
Yeah, kind of like that.
In October.
Yeah, the whole anti-hero or villain per se with Joker. I mean,
Joker's not an anti-hero.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, it looks like it's gonna be really good. I know a lot of people were like, it was kind of funny because a lot of people were like, man, that movie looks kind of weird. I'm like, it looks like a Joker movie to me, like because the whole movie, like I watched it and all I could hear in the back of my head was one bad day.
Yeah.
Like The Killing Joke, one bad day, that's all it takes. And it's just like, it looks like a guy, a tortured, like wounded person just gets to that unbreakable point of no return and turns into the Joker. And did you see they also have a young Bruce Wayne and Bruce Wayne's dad's going to be in the movie too. He's actually the politician in it.
Know that.
Yeah, like in the trailer, like where he's making that little kid smile, that's a young Bruce Wayne. So
Well, can I recommend some Joker stories for people to read?
yeah, definitely, definitely.
If you're getting pumped up for the movie, I'm with you though. The movie looks cool, and I guarantee you that clown getup is not his look.
Yeah, it's kind of like to me, it's probably like a prototype Joker.
A red herring.
Yeah.
Because I bet the whole because we saw a little bit of Batman, so I bet the Ace Chemical things is going to happen too. And well, no, his dad's in it, huh? But we saw Batman in it, right?
Not in the Joker trailer.
Okay, but he's gonna fall into the Ace Chemical vat somehow.
Yeah,
and that's gonna be a key part of it. As for Joker stories, of course, Xander, you can't go wrong with killing Joke. There's not much to say there, right?
Right.
Some other ones though, one that I like, you can probably find in trade paperback, is called The Man Who Laughs. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this one, Xander.
No, I haven't.
It's really good because I'll suggest this with another piece because it'll make sense. This is actually a retelling of Batman #1 from 1940 because that was the first Joker story.
Yeah.
And it's a damn good one. And surprisingly, I like Batman #1. I have it digitally. Of course, I'm too poor to buy an original, and I wouldn't read it anyway. But Batman #1, the first Joker story, is really good because the Joker was already. It's one of those few characters in comics that gets created and is defined right away.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Wolverine, his first appearance, he was not defined. Most characters are not defined in their first appearance. It takes a while or another writer to define them. Joker was not. That's not the case with him. So that one's really good. From the New 52, I would recommend Death in the Family.
Oh yeah, that's classic.
That's a good Death of the Family. My bad. Death in the Family. Are you thinking about the one where he kills Robin?
No, I'm thinking about the one where it's like he had all the he had like Batgirl, had everyone, and that's when he like cut his face.
Yeah. That's it. Death of the Family. Yeah, some people say that's a little anticlimactic though, but the ending makes sense. I like it. They say it's anticlimactic. I don't want to spoil it, but since you read it, you probably know what I'm talking about. But I don't think it's anticlimactic.
Now, what about I don't think Joker's in that one. The Batman Long Halloween.
He is, and that's my favorite Batman story. Period. I love the Long Halloween. But the thing about the Long Halloween is Joker, he plays a decent sized role, but he's not. It's really a Two-Face story, and Two-Face is my favorite Batman villain. So there's that. Trying to think, there's a couple more. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah. No, I was gonna ask you another thing while we're on the Joker talk, because just about the same day that they revealed the Joker trailer, they revealed the actual transformation of Joker, or AKA Jay, in the Gotham TV show. Now I
don't watch that.
I was going to ask you if you ever watched. I don't watch it. My sister does. I've watched some of the trailers and some of the footage, because I will say, out of everything, I think the guy who plays like the young Joker is really fucking good. I can't remember his name, but he was like the redheaded kid in Shameless, and he plays a really good Joker. I mean, he does a really good job kind of like melting the psychoticness of Heath Ledger, but with the mannerisms of Jack Nicholson.
See, that's the thing. I watched the first couple episodes of Gotham. To be fair, I didn't get into it. But remember something, though. It's the pilot and first couple episodes. Some series that I love take a while. Like, you ever see Spartacus?
No, I haven't seen that.
The first half of that season is fucking dumb. But, man, afterwards, until its final season, it's pretty fucking good. But it's a little bit... That's a whole different thing. My point is it takes some TV series a little while. So I might give Gotham another shot someday.
It's on Netflix.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll wait till they put this current season, because I guess this season right now is the last one.
Yeah, because apparently they've already showed leaks of he actually turns into Batman in this series.
You know, you got to give Gotham one thing though, and I've heard this is another good series, but it didn't take them 11 years to become Batman like it did Superman in Smallville.
Yeah,
because that show was 11 seasons, dude.
Yeah, and I know Gotham like has his hit or miss. I know some people. It's one of those shows that I've talked to people that either they love it or they cannot stand it.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing about it is like you just got to keep in mind that this is a retelling that this isn't necessarily going to be comic book accurate anyway.
Of course, yeah. You got to keep that in mind with most adaptations too.
Yeah.
I guess my thing is that I'm not too keen on prolonged origin stories.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And what I say about that is 11 years to become Superman. And it's such a weird show because if you look at it, they've introduced all his villains.
Yeah.
I mean, Doomsday, Darkseid, fucking the Justice Society, all kinds of shit. They introduced the whole DC universe, but he's not Superman, which makes no sense to me. So,
yeah.
So that's probably my thing with Gotham too. But I see your point. It's a different adaptation. That's fine. That doesn't bother me. It's just I'm just not into prolonged origins, which is why I give the CW shows like Arrow and Flash credit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And even Supergirl. So even though I can't really get into that one. And I haven't watched Flash in years.
Well, moving from that, because this episode is going to be about some Final Fantasy. I know some people are listening. They're like, well, are you guys going to talk about Final Fantasy?
Oh, I got one more thing to say.
Oh, yeah, you did have one thing. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I beat Mario 3 again.
Oh, yeah?
And I know some people I beat it on Switch this time. Last time I beat it was in 2014 on my 3DS. There is a reason. Now, it hit me last time, but it's even hitting me harder. There's a reason why that is considered one of the greatest games of all time.
Oh, it's my number one. It's my number one favorite game of all time.
I can see that. I'm a little bit of a narrative guy, so my favorite game's leaning towards one with deeper narratives.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to just talk about pure gameplay and strip away narratives, I would say that would be my number one too.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, I'm discovering new things. Some people are going to laugh at one of the things I discovered this time, but I didn't know, like when you're on the airship and you have, those flames that spit out. I didn't know if you transferred into the Tanuki statue midair and fell on them, you would destroy the flame.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird. And what's funny about that game is you don't think of story, but really, there's a reason why you need a thematic value to the game. Like the Mario quirkiness adds to it. Like just going into that world and just, if it was just strip all of the thematic elements and say the game was designed exactly the same way, right, Xander?
Yeah.
But it was really just stick people and dots. I think the game would lose it. Even if the gameplay was as perfect as it is, I think it would lose it. And I think that's what makes that game special is the thematics of it. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just... I made a video, my top 10 favorite games of all time recently. And that was number one. And it's because Super Mario 3 is like my comfort food game. Like, when I was out of town during Hurricane Florence, that's right around the time that the Switch started having the online, and I got Super Mario Brothers 3, and I played that while I was out of town, and like for that little bit of time that I was playing it and I beat it, I was like not even thinking about hurricanes. I wasn't thinking about what's my house look like right now because I was out of town, And every year, every Thanksgiving, that's what I play. I play it all the way through. I play Super Mario Brothers 3.
That game is so special, man. To me too.
It really
I don't know, when did you first play it?
It was my game that came with my NES.
Okay. See, I got it. Let's see. I'm a little bit older than you. What, about a couple years, right?
Yeah, I'm 33.
Okay, I'm 36. So, I played it in 1990, and I remember that game came out in February of 1990, and what was hyped for my experience was probably like a lot of kids my age, and maybe even yours, where I saw the fucking wizard.
Yeah.
I got taken to see the wizard because it was part of my Christmas gift, and my grandparents who raised me, they knew I was a Nintendo freak, right?
Yeah.
So they took me to go see the wizard. And I remember, you know, at the end of the movie, that's the big reveal. Because that's what that movie is. It's an advertisement for Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yeah, it's just one long Nintendo advertisement. That's all it is.
With some bullshit sentimentality
yeah.
in it. And a lot of child endangerment. What?
I said California.
Power Glove, so rad.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of, child endangerment, too.
Yeah, oh my gosh. But, I mean, you had Fred Savage, who was, like,
I saw that.
The big guy, you know. Yeah. You still there, Anthony? I think I scared you away with Fred Savage. Hello, hello.
Xander.
There you go.
Okay, sorry about that. You want to count down? And
No. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I was like, I scared you away with Fred Savage.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, with Fred Savage was a pretty big star back then.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, he was huge.
He was real popular, and he's still around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was even in that Deadpool PG-13 a couple months ago.
Yep.
But I watched that, and one thing I do remember too is because I went to see it, they were giving these booklets. Man, I still wish I had it, but they had booklets, and the booklets had tips in it and previews. And one of the coolest thing was it had this big old spread for Super Mario Brothers 3. And it had Mario in the raccoon suit flying away from the airship, and Princess Peach was tied up to the airship, and you see the Bowser kids and shit. And I remember that blew my mind for some reason, because it showed how epic that game is. And I'm not one that likes to use epic. I'm an English major, but fuck, Mario 3 is epic, even compared to some of the Mario games that have come out.
Yeah, there's a reason why it to this day there's even Mario games that have came out that's kind of modeled itself after Super Mario Brothers 3 in some shape or form.
And most Mario games are pretty absolutely above the bar of most games. But
Yeah.
Mario 3, I think, is on that upper echelon. I know there's people who like World better. I like World a lot, but it's not up there with 3. I think 3 is the better game, personally.
Well, you know, my thing's weird for the fact that Super Mario Bros. 3 is my favorite game of all time, but Super Mario World is my favorite Mario game of all time.
I got you.
If that makes
Are
any
you
sense.
keeping those separate?
Yeah, it's separate.
Oh, okay.
Like,
okay.
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like the epitome Mario game, like the one Mario game that I'm like, okay, this is above all what I really, really enjoy is Super Mario World. But Super Mario Brothers 3, if it wasn't for Super Mario Bros. 3, you wouldn't have Super Mario World.
No, you wouldn't. And just so many little nuances. For example, I don't know which world it was, but I beat one of them with the Tanuki suit.
Yeah.
And the dialogue changes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Raccoon, they don't say thank you, Mario. They say thank you, Raccoon.
Yeah. They have and if you're dressed as the frog, it changes too.
Yeah. I wonder if it changes if you're the Hammer Brothers, though.
I think if you change into a Hammer Brother, I think they're actually kind of mean to you because they think you're a Koopa.
Oh shit! I should try that.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that game is great. Before we move on, because I know we don't want to run too short on our main topic because it's another favorite series of ours. But I don't know. Can we talk about emulation?
I mean, we can talk a little bit about it.
Okay, I have a modded PSP, and I have GBA games on there.
Mm-hmm.
So I got curious because I know the GBA version of Mario 3 is pretty well received. Mm-hmm. And I will say I prefer the NES version because it's special to me, and it's probably special to you, the NES version.
Yeah.
But I will say, though, that the GBA version and the All-Star, those added effects like the underground levels looking more underground instead of some weird ice thing like they do in the NES, like the bluish.
Yeah, well, I was going to say was because you're referring to Super Mario Advance 4, which is Super Mario Brothers 3. Now, what's interesting about that game is it uses a lot of the same graphical mechanics or updates as Super Mario All-Stars.
Right.
which they did change that. They made underground look more like underground instead of ice. But another thing they changed to the GBA version was things like voiceovers, and also don't forget the e card levels.
Oh, I can't do that in my situation.
But you can in one shape other than emulation. You can also, if you purchase the game on your Wii U, it comes with all those levels.
Oh shit! It does, huh?
Yeah.
And is the Wii U eShop on there?
Yep.
Motherfucker. Yeah, I'll try that. How were those e-card levels?
They're so wild. I mean, because it has elements of Super Mario Brothers 2 and the Super Mario Brothers 3 formula. Because you're picking up radishes and shit. It's weird.
What the fuck? Okay, but that sounds kind of neat. But I'll say this, Xander, about the game. I do like the added effects though in the advanced version, Super Mario Advance 4. Wouldn't you agree? Like when you're on the airship, it's and I'm not degrading the NES version by any means. It's the version I prefer, but I do like that there's lightning in the background and when you're like in the hardcore platforming levels where it's just pure platforming, it looks like there's clouds in the background. You're above the clouds. Mm-hmm. So that adds a level of immersion that I like.
Yeah, it's definitely a good version to play. I mean, like I said, when I remember I was out of town. I was actually out of town Thanksgiving one year, about 2 years ago, and that's the copy I had with me because I said every Thanksgiving I have to play Super Mario Brothers 3, and I had Super Mario Advance 4, and I was like, all right, let's get to it. So I actually beat it that year on the Game Boy Advance.
And it's a good port.
Yeah.
It's a good port. But I think you can agree that for us, the NES version is just special.
Oh, yeah.
And one last thing, doesn't one of the kings turn into a Yoshi?
Yeah. In the newer versions, like All Stars and Advance 4, he turns into a Yoshi.
Which one is that?
Jeez, what is it? What is it? World 4? Is it Giant World?
Yeah, World 4 Giant World.
Yep. Now, I had a question because and this is a great segue because you mentioned emulation, and this is kind of like the segue before we get into Final Fantasy. Is Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 9 just came out for the Switch, and mainly Final Fantasy 7. I've been seeing a lot of folks do this. I was on a group page, and someone had posted they had just beaten the Ruby Weapon. And they're like, this is the first time in 20 years I've actually beaten this guy. I can't believe I finally did it. And you looked to the side, and they have the freaking mods on.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to be that person and be like, okay, now try it without the mods. Because here's the thing. Final Fantasy 7 and 9, and this goes for the Switch. It goes for the PS4 remakes. Or remasters, also goes for Steam. They added these features that you can do stuff like ×3 to speed, refill your health, refill your limit breaks or trace modes, and it makes the game essentially easier.
No, it makes it a cakewalk. It makes it. You know what it turns it into? It doesn't turn it into a game.
Turns it into Final Fantasy 13.
I wouldn't go that far because I like 13. We're gonna have to have that debate someday.
Yeah.
Because I like 13. 13's not easy, dude. That final boss was a fucking bitch.
I never did beat it. I got really tired of it. I hear the game gets better as time goes by.
I'll agree that is the flaw. A game shouldn't, but you know what? The reason I think it appealed to me, just real quick, is people that got bored of it. They did one thing. Auto battle. I never auto battle.
Yeah, screw that.
You know what? I don't trust. When I played Lunar way back in the PS1, I tried auto battle and got me killed too many times. Yeah. So since then, it traumatized me off of fucking auto battle. So I don't do auto battle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for you, you didn't do auto battle either, though?
No.
You just didn't like the game.
Yeah, same reason. I didn't trust the computer, and also, like I said, I just felt like the game. It was a slow brewer, which is one of the things I will say about Final Fantasy 9 is it doesn't start off pretentious. A lot of JRPGs, like I don't know what it is. It's like JRPGs. Sometimes when they start out, they try to seem to be too sophisticated in story, and they try to be like a little too upfront and just. It was like Final Fantasy 13 started off in the middle of, like, say, a Star Wars movie. It like starts off in the middle, and it's like you need to give a shit about this person, this person, this person is who you need to really feel bad for. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on here? You know, it's like I cannot stand it when games do that.
Well, give me an example of one JRPG that does that.
Like Final Fantasy 13 is a good one. Just because the beginning of it with lightning, I was like, you know.
Xander, you and I are going to have a talk about this. I don't want to get into it because, you know, I'm notorious for defending that game. I'm not one of those, and I'm not saying you are, by any means, because I respect your opinion. And I've always gone by the mantra, and I'll probably get some hate, is I don't respect people's opinions. I respect their educated opinion. Well, I don't agree with you. You have an educated opinion, usually, even when we don't agree.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, some of my other YouTube friends like Darkscream, you know, and whatnot. But aside from that, though, you know, most Final Fantasy fans, the fan base gets on my nerves because they pick and choose what games, and you either get those people who say everything after 6 is horrible.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I don't think the series is bad. I think 15, you know, say what you will about 15, it was great. You and I liked 14.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't played 14 in a while. I know it's probably even been longer for you.
Oh, yeah. It's been a couple of years for me.
But I want to get back into it, and I liked 14. And then 13, you know, you didn't care for it, but that's okay. I like it. 12's the one that I have issues with.
Yeah, I cannot stand 12. 12, I'd rather play 13 than 12. I think 12 is probably my least favorite Final Fantasy.
See, here's the funny thing. I haven't played it since it came out. But
Same.
I bought the Zodiac edition on PS4,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't touched it. I want to someday when I can dedicate to see how I feel about it. It's weird because we're getting all these games, and I know this is going to sound dumb, but I bought 9 and 7, and I actually want to get 10 again because I love 10.
Oh, 10 was great.
Yeah, I want to get 10. But I just don't see I'll double dip on Final Fantasies over and over. I mean, I have 7 on PS4, PS3, my Vita, my phone, the Switch now. You know?
Same here.
But 12 is like, I'll buy this version, I'll play it someday on my PS4, and that's that. It's just like, I don't feel like buying it for the Switch. But 10, I want to get it.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand. I'm the same way. Like 12, whenever it comes out to Switch, I'm probably not going to get it. But 10, I'm going to get that because I bought 7 and 9, and when I was buying 7, I was like, why am I buying this? As I'm checking out of the eShop, I'm like, why am I still buying this game? I was like, oh, it's only $15. It's not too bad.
You know what was funny? I was in town, and I was riding with some family. And I had my Switch connected to hotspot. Mm-hmm. And while setting it up, I was downloading, and then I looked on my phone, and Final Fantasy VII downloaded on my fucking phone is on there.
That's so funny.
But you know what? It's weird playing certain games on phones.
Yeah.
So
even though I will say JRPGs are really good on cell phones.
I don't know. I guess I'm old fashioned. I want the controller. But you know what's a funny thing is I was tempted to buy Phoenix Wright on the Switch, but I have I had the trilogy on my phone. And that plays perfectly on the phone. So I thought maybe I shouldn't get it on the Switch. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Kind of, because what is Phoenix Wright? It's basically a point and click game, and you just touch around.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot of mechanics on that sort of game.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would make sense being on your phone.
Yeah. So, Final Fantasy, before we get into the meat and bones, I want to know your origin story real quick.
I've started off with the first Final Fantasy. I was probably like 6 or 7. Because my first JRPG I played was Dragon Warrior.
Right.
And I remember I went to a friend's house and they had Final Fantasy and they had no idea how to play it. And I was actually showing them how to play it because they had never played an RPG before. Because, I mean, like, back then, I mean, RPGs weren't nearly what they are now. I mean, like, you get a game, and most people thought they were playing, like a Castlevania, like, side-scroller or Mario game or a racing game or flying game. You get Final Fantasy, you're thinking, oh, yeah, I'm just probably a knight, and I kill things. But that's really not it. It's a JRPG, you know?
Yeah. And I was your friend. because I got it when I was a kid. I didn't know what the fuck I didn't understand equipment, and I didn't understand that. But I didn't really get into RPGs until 1997, and I got to tell the story real quick. I think I might have told it on my before deleted channel. But here's what happened. I had a PS1, and I was coming to the realization that I did not want a Nintendo 64, which I'm glad I made that decision. Not knocking the Nintendo 64. It's my least favorite Nintendo system, Xander. I don't know.
Same here. Same here.
Oh, you do feel that way?
Yeah, I don't like the N64.
I mean, Star Fox 64, a few others, but there's not much else.
All the great games aside from the wrestling games that were on the N64, we can play on better consoles now.
And the great FPSs are outdated as fuck.
Yeah.
Try playing fucking GoldenEye now, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway,
which reminds me, Turok is on the eShop.
Really? I don't know. I didn't really. Yeah, I'll probably pass on that one. Do you like Turok though?
I never played it.
I'm sure it hasn't aged well.
Yeah. Anyway,
the summer of '97, I was reading video game magazines, and one game they were hyping the fuck out of was 7.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of got turned off by Final Fantasy because of the first one. But what happened was a friend lent me his Super Nintendo because I didn't really own a Super Nintendo at that point. And he let me play Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Oh, wow. And for whatever reason, I liked it.
Well, you know what it is? It was because it was probably because it was a simpler JRPG and kind of got your feet wet, kind of figure out what a JRPG is. Because I mean, a lot of people knock it because they're like, oh, that's an easy JRPG that Japan brought over here because they thought Americans were stupid. No, I mean it did a good job in the sense that if you've never played a JRPG, if you don't know what a JRPG is and you play it, you'll know after that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, Xander, about this game too. To add to your point. Its soundtrack kicks ass.
Oh, it's so good.
I mean, fuck off, anyone. It's not a bad game. Mystic Quest is not a bad game.
It's not that bad.
It's not bad. But I played that and I really liked it. And then I started looking through some old magazines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what caught my attention? Final Fantasy VI. So in the meantime, my friend took his Super Nintendo back. And most of the games he had were like Super Ghouls and Ghosts and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And which are all great games, but he didn't really have any RPGs. So he took those back, and I remember the first weekend of school that year, my 8th grade year, I ran into Final Fantasy VII. Well, I had put a Super Nintendo on layaway with Final Fantasy VI, Final Fantasy III, and I got it, that Monday after when I had to return Final Fantasy VII. So what happened was I got Final Fantasy VII shortly. So I played Final Fantasy VI and 7 concurrently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. And I was having a rough year. That was not my best year. I got bullied a lot and shit. It's hard to imagine me being bullied, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with my temperament. But for those that don't know, I was a very shy and quiet and introverted kid. I didn't start getting like this till I got to high school. But those games helped me through that year, through the first half. And I remember I beat them shortly. I beat Final Fantasy VI first, then I beat 7. But man, playing through those games concurrently make those two games very special to me. And and after that, dude, you know what happened with the PlayStation, right? We got a swarm of JRPGs, Xander.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so many. And a lot of that's because of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. And you know what? That's all I played after that whole gen. I mean, it got me into... Next was Tactics, Breath of Fire 3, and so on and so forth. And, 2 years later, I was knee-deep into Final Fantasy VIII, Star Ocean, and Lunar. And, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my origin story.
Now this kind of goes into my first question. Because the way we're doing this episode is we both wrote down 5 questions each, and we're going to be going through those. So this is a good segue to my first question, Anthony, is when did you first play Final Fantasy IX?
The day it was released in 2000.
Yeah, same here. I actually I got it for Christmas.
I remember, I pre-ordered that game. and I got Shenmue a week later, which we don't know how we feel about that, but
Yeah.
we won't go into that. But that was a pretty exciting time, though.
It really was. It was an exciting time for gaming because we were leaving the sixth generation and going to the seventh.
Yeah.
Or was it the? Well, I'm trying to remember my generations here, but we were leaving the PlayStation and going to PlayStation 2.
5th gen to 6th gen.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. So, and one thing, just an antidote, is people forget we don't get Final Fantasy games often these days, right? Unless it's a spin-off or something, or more re-releases. But for a mainline game, people forget that 99 we got 8, 2000 we got 9, 2001 we got 10.
Yep.
We got in 3 years consecutively we got Final Fantasies, which was awesome, you know. And then we had to wait. And then of course 11 came out, and then we had to wait years. But I played it the day it came out, and I really liked it, and I beat it. But for whatever reason, I didn't really revisit it until 2 months when it was released 2 months ago.
You know what was funny is I remember when Final Fantasy 9 came out. Going off of 7 and 8. A lot of my friends who were into 7 and 8 were like completely like questioned about 9 because the art style completely changed.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just like, this looks kind of kiddie, you know? But I was looking at it and I'm like, holy shit, they're back to like medieval times and steam engines. And, it wasn't so much of a sci-fi, it was more of fantasy. And that was one of the things I loved about it. Like, I didn't care that the characters looked super deformed compared to Cloud and Squall. I liked the fact that we had black mages again.
Oh, yeah. And what was cool about that was, by that time, for me, we had finally gotten 5 re-released.
Yeah,
remember?
The anthology, yeah.
Yeah. So I had, of course, I told my origin story about 6, and then we played 5, and then 7 and 8, and I kind of came to the conclusion, which I'm still at to this day, that every Final Fantasy is going to be different.
Yeah.
I knew that. But what I always knew at that time was that the game was going to be of a superb quality as well. It didn't matter what the thematic value was.
Mm-hmm.
Although I do really need to revisit 8. I have not, that's the most controversial game in a long time, and I have it on Steam. Do you have it, Xander? 8?
I have it on my Pi.
Okay. You know what? Maybe if we can find some time in the next 6 months or so, and I'm saying 6 months because it's a JRPG, we should revisit it.
Yeah, because I haven't played it in years.
Yeah, I haven't played it in a long time. But I kind of knew, and I was excited, and then I knew who Nomura was, and I knew who was Amano. And I'm not a Nomura hater. Are you a Nomura hater like a lot of people are?
Nah.
I think his art style's fine. But let's be honest, Amano's way better.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. And I remember reading in something that Amano was coming back to do the character designs.
Mm-hmm.
Which he did. And I was super pumped. So that got me pumped up for that game, Xander.
Now what was one of your questions?
Ooh, let me get those for you, good sir. Let's see. Okay, so what themes did you see in the game? Like, what literary thematic elements did you see?
I felt like it was a very European game. Not in the sense that it's a JRPG. Not European as in like, oh, I felt elements of European game design, but more of like the atmosphere. Like Alexandria looked like old school London in some aspects.
It did, huh?
And you had like the whole theater thing, so it made you feel like all Renaissance and
the Globe Theater from Shakespeare. The theater where all in London where Shakespeare played played all his plays for the first time.
Yeah, you had that feeling. Also, the swamps made me think of very very like swampy like Ireland or Scotland or something like that. Like it was very atmospheric with that game, and some of the other themes I also saw were almost like a reflection of Final Fantasy itself. With the return of the black mages, more of a class base characters in this game, and also kind of like an Easter egg when you find out one of the antagonists, or the main antagonist, Garland, which was Garland from Final Fantasy 1, you know?
And the fact that you encounter the corruptions of the crystal, like the
Yeah.
ones in Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah.
So yeah, any other themes you saw, or
That's pretty much my gist of it.
I'm gonna get really kind of pretentious here, but I feel I need to. Okay. So you can all call me pretentious, but Final Fantasy games, the reason I'm attracted to them, especially now that I'm older, they all have very deep themes, right? Thematic value in terms of literary themes. Final Fantasy IX's big theme, and I think it affected most of the characters, with the exception of maybe Amaranth and Quina, and maybe Aiko to an extent. But every character had an existential crisis.
Yeah.
All of them. Garnet, am I a princess? Who am I? Why am I here? You're not my real mother. What do I do? What's my purpose? You know? Vivi, why do I exist in the first place? Am I a weapon? The main character is Zidane. We should have warned people. There's going to be spoilers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit. Well, I'll put that in the description.
Yeah.
We should. My bad. Zidane, his existential crisis. At first, he's this kind of cool, laid-back guy, kind of giving everyone advice. But then he finds out I'm a weapon myself. I'm a antichrist.
Yeah.
Essentially, Steiner. My duty's my whole life, but when I lose that duty, what am I? Freya. I can't find my lover. Do I really need him? Am I capable? Every character had a fucking existential crisis. So I think the theme of Final Fantasy, if you look at 7, that theme was life and death. 8 is family, from what I recall, about, family. This one is about, why do you exist? That's the big question.
It's the song of life.
Melodies of life, that fucking song.
Yeah.
I know I sound pretentious, but that's when I was, and mind you, this is crazy because when I hadn't played the game since I first played in 2000, really, right?
Yeah.
I've had a couple of false starts, but now that I went through, remember, I'm a lit miner, okay? So I look at shit like this, and that's what I saw in this game. And people can say, well, it's about characters with tails and you got to fight a giant fucking chef frog thing. But who cares? The game is so much deeper than chef frog people or little black mage guys.
Oh, yeah.
And even you know what? Even the final boss, who isn't Kuja, Necron. His purpose is to just cause all of existence to cease to exist. So even the final boss ties into that. So that's kind of how I felt about the themes. I don't know if you agree, Xander.
Oh, yeah, definitely a good point.
Yeah.
So now my next question was, what was your favorite moment in the game?
My young teenage self loves the Alexander and Bahamut fight.
Yes.
That fight is dope. Most intimate moment, or well, not intimate, but most quiet moment, I think it's right after you beat the game, right after you beat the boss. It's that last moment between Garnet and Zidane.
Oh, yeah. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Because it all came together.
Not when they're reunited, right before he goes to save Kuja. And no one wants him to. Even Steiner, who hated him, doesn't want him to leave. Like, it shows how much that group grew together. And then I'll argue on a second moment is that narration during the ending where Garnet says something like, this was the best moment of my life, but I have to accept the fact that it doesn't last forever, that you're gone or whatever. Because that ending is sad. It's a happy ending, but it's a pretty sad ending.
Yeah, it is pretty sad. And when it's like after that initial ending, it's like almost like they had to like add a couple of things to kind of make you feel better because it was kind of depressing.
But you know what, Xander? I just realized. But they didn't have no such thing in 10.
Oh no, yeah.
That ending's fucking devastating.
Gosh.
That's a devastating. At least 9 had a happier ending.
Yeah.
But it was still sad. But what about you? What's your favorite moment?
My favorite moment, like you said, the Alexandria Bahamut battle was awesome. Also, the part where Vivi like shoots off the crazy fire spell on the ship and destroys the Black Waltz.
Oh yeah,
That was so
yeah.
cool. That was
a
so
cool
awesome
moment.
because of who Vivi was. He was like pretty much a 7-year-old little black mage, you know, and through the whole game he's kind of being he's very like to himself. He doesn't have a whole lot of confidence. He's very shy, and it was like at that moment, you know, he had to save his friends, and he just like shot off this crazy fire, and I was like, dude, that was freaking awesome.
You know what moment makes me tear up before? And I'm a guy, so fuck you if you think we shouldn't cry. But I know you agree with me, Xander. I think, but there's a moment that makes me tear up right before that, where there's all those black mages and they defend him. Remember?
Yes.
And then they get to that beautiful CG scene, and you see all the black mages get wiped out, and you see that look in Vivi's face. That's so heartbreaking, man.
Yeah. And you just see all the black mages just falling out of the sky.
Yeah. The black mages in that whole fucking game, fuck.
Yeah.
They remember when you're in the village, they just stop. He just stopped, and there's that one black mage. This is another thing. I'm sorry, you got me on a tangent here. They have a grave, remember?
Yeah.
And they're talking to that black mage, and he says, "This made me sad." Where he says, "He just stopped moving, but maybe someday he'll wake up, and I'll give him a bath." And I was like, "Oh my fucking god!"
Yeah.
And I get. It might try to be funny, but I didn't find it.
Yeah, it was very tragic. It was it was the outlook of, you know, what would happen if like something was created. You know, it was shitty.
Yeah, that game's sadder than people give credit to.
Now, what's your next question? Because I don't want us to run too short on time.
Okay, number 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay, most relatable character.
I would have to say, I mean, it'd be really easy because when the game came out, I think you and I both can agree with this, that, you know, I was also had my moments of being shy, so I really identify with Vivi. I think a lot of people did.
That's the breakout character in that game. Not saying the rest of the characters suck.
Yeah, I mean, the characters are so good in that game. I mean, matter of fact, I love the fact that Zidane, like, he was kind of a suave guy. You know,
he was the opposite of Cloud and Squall.
I know, and I love that. I love the fact, and you know, when we talked about Final Fantasy 13, I told you about how like some of the beginnings of JRPGs, like they kind of like just they have to grab my attention. That's what I liked about Final Fantasy 9. Final Fantasy 9 started off with a heist to steal the princess. That was it. Yeah. That was it. I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. You know,
it was a little kid sneak into a play.
Yeah, it wasn't like, you know, oh, you know, the world has been destroyed millions of years ago, and now we must depend on this, and oh, you know, it's just like, okay, all right, cool. You know, sometimes JRPGs get a little too heavy in the beginning, and just kind of start a little push, and you have like just something simple and let it just unravel, and that's what Final Fantasy 9 did.
Yeah, I agree. I don't mind the world is destroyed as long as the execution afterwards. I treat it like a TV series, like I did. Remember? Really think about JRPGs. Some of them are really like whole TV series because there's so many separate moments, and that's how I treat some of them. But yeah, sometimes they do start. Yeah, the thousands of years ago, 2 gods fought, and now you know. But sometimes, you know, like Grandia 2 did that, but the plot twist in that game saved it from being so generic. I don't know how long ago you played Grandia 2, but
yeah, it's been a long time.
But man, that story was great. But I agree with you, though. I like the beginning of this because it was even other Final Fantasies blow up a reactor, storm Narsh.
Yeah.
I got a cut on my face. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So there you go. Maybe a cut on my face is a little bit
It's
demeaning
Squall.
to that. Yeah, Squall.
It's Squall.
Uh, you know what? I think he's more of a depressing character than Cloud. I think people like to shit on Cloud.
Yeah. No, Squall was definitely Squall was the dude in Breakfast Club, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
The
What's
guy
your
with the
third
gloves.
question?
Third
Oh, my bad.
question is favorite boss battle.
Oh, um, I would say that's hard because there's a lot. The boss battles in this are a little challenging, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll say this: when you think of Final Fantasy IX, and you think of a boss battle. What's the very first battle that you think of, like this in your head, that just really sticks out? Because psychologically, that's probably one of your favorites without even realizing it. Just because
Oh,
it's like
this is
boom.
not going to be everyone's favorite, but when the twins merge,
Oh yeah,
yeah, what's their name?
it was like Zonk and Zink or something like that.
Yeah,
Something with a Z.
yeah, yeah. I'm with you. I like that boss battle when you fight them at first and then they merge together
Mm-hmm.
because it was kind of a tough battle. I'm also thinking the battle with those dragons when you enter the final dungeon.
Yeah.
And I'll say the Necron battle, if you're under leveled, it's challenging.
Yeah.
The Necron battle is pretty memorable too. What about you?
I mean, I think the first battle you have with Kuja and you hear his like theme song.
Oh,
Eh,
that.
Yeah, it's pretty much like what I liked about it is I first heard it and I just was like, we will rock you, because it's totally boom, boom,
Yuamatsu does that a lot.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Just real quick, in you like Six, right? We
Yeah.
haven't really talked about Six surprisingly, but the world of ruin, when you're the world map theme on there, that
Mhm.
dun, dun, do you know that that's the beginning of a Rush song?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of Rush the last 3 years, and about 3 years ago I heard that, and I thought I had the soundtrack to Final Fantasy VI on my phone, which I did, and it turned out to a Rush song. I was like, what the fuck?
Oh yeah.
But did I say Nomura or Yuamatsu?
I can't remember. But the Final Fantasy composer, like the Final Fantasy composer.
Yuamatsu.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a known rock fan.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he had Ian Gilligan singing his battle theme in Blue Dragon.
That wasn't bad. A lot of people hated it, but it didn't bug me. And I like Blue Dragon.
I did too.
Yeah. Anyway, so Kuja's your favorite battle?
Yeah. Just because I just that one secret boss you had that's just a free. What is it, like just a big sphere?
That big planet thing?
Yeah.
That's like the Omega weapon, huh? Of this game.
Yeah, that is so weird. It's like out of everything, like the one thing that beats your ass is just this big sphere. So simple.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've never fought it.
I tried and I didn't. I never beat it. Maybe I can beat it now that it's on I have it on the Switch and I can just turn all the infinite lives on, then I can post on Facebook how I finally beat it.
Dude, do it. Yeah, I beat this boss after decades of trying.
Who would have thought infinite lives and infinite trance mode would have been the answer? Crazy me.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever used the cheats?
I used the ×3 speed.
That's my only complaint about 9, because one thing that I got curious about was the transitions into battle, and the battle themselves are really slow.
Yeah.
And then I plugged in 7 and everything's so quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then just to make sure it wasn't because of the Switch or anything, I did look at it from, a PS1, an unemulated PS1, right? On YouTube. And it's faster than 9. So I don't know why it went so quick. It was so slow in 9.
I don't know. That's interesting though. But yeah, I used the 3 times battle just because of it just makes time go by a little bit faster on certain parts that I just already know about. I'm like, all right, let's speed through this a little bit.
I accidentally used the battle assist once because one time I clicked it and then I saw everyone going to trance and no one was near trans
Well,
at that point. I was like, what the fuck?
I do want to say this. I do want to say this because I don't want to sound like I'm being like an elitist, being like, oh, the only way to play a RPG is to play it this way. I mean, I think of it this way, like, because I did the same thing with Phantasy Star. When I played Phantasy Star on the Switch, I started out on like the assist mode where gave me more experience points and blah, blah, blah. It was pretty much like cheat mode. But it was just because I just wanted to go through the game and just relive it. And, at the end of the day, if that's what you want to do, that's cool. That's cool. But I was just poking fun about it because I've seen a lot of people be like, "Oh, I finally got a golden chocobo," or "I finally beat this guy," and it's like, "Well, of course you did. You had cheats on,
Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah.
Here's my thing on cheats. I think cheats are fine. My moral code is if I've played the game once, or in this case, I didn't use any because I have not played the game in years.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. But if it's something like 7, which I played a bunch of times, but I don't plan it on the Switch playthrough because it's been about 3 years, I'll use cheats a little bit.
Yeah.
If you played it through. But I honestly think using cheats on single-player games is totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to your preference. I'm not a big cheat guy. I know you're not. When I have a problem with cheats, it's on multiplayer games.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah. But aside from that, it's ultimate preference.
And hell, I mean, I've played like some retro games, like with save states. I've done that, and some people look down on that, but I'll use a fucking save state.
You know what? To be fair, some of those games are way too hard.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I love Ninja Gaiden, but I'll say I don't think you're cheating if you use save states because that game's cheap. It's not hard. It's cheap hard.
Yeah.
There's a difference. So that's just how I feel about that.
Mm-hmm. Now let's get into because we're running close on time.
Oh shit!
Let's get into because I screen capped your third question. Is how do you rank Kuja in the other Final Fantasy villains? I think Kuja is super underrated.
Agreed.
He is very underrated. It's like you never hear anybody talk about Kuja. You hear more people talk about Kifka than Kuja.
Well, I'm one of those guys. I like Kefka the best.
Yeah.
Or Sephiroth. Those are the two big ones. Kefka or Sephiroth. I think it depends because, like, let's look at 8 for a second, okay? The way I look at 8, Ultimacia is really a force of power that you're going against, not really a villain. And that's fine, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Like, you're really going against a powerful force, like an entity, not really a villain. And from what I remember of 8, the character development is really focused on the good guys.
Yeah, really.
Which was really good from what I remember. So 8's purpose was different. Same with 9, with 10, aside from Seymour, who I think is a decent side villain.
Yeah. He kind of fit that whole like Final Fantasy villain guy.
But really, the main villain was the unfair cycle of death in Final Fantasy X was really the villain, if you really think about it. Kuja, if you want to talk about physical villains, he's up there. I'm with you. I mean, he's better than X-Death. Who the fuck remembers him?
Yeah.
And then there was 5 different villains in 4, if I recall.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Kuja might be number 2 for me.
Yeah, he just has what's really interesting about him is he is, he was made as a vessel of destruction, but he also hates the fact that he was not made well enough to destruct everything.
And you know who he reminds me of?
Who's that?
I bet you can guess. You can guess. Can take a guess.
I'm not sure.
Liquid Snake.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
wow.
Go ahead.
Now that you mention it, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because when I was playing it, I was like, because I didn't put the connections at that time, but I thought about it. I was like, fuck, he's like Liquid Snake.
Mm-hmm.
He's the inferior. Well, wasn't it revealed that Solid Snake was actually the inferior one in the end?
I think so.
There was a plot twist, and Liquid Snake was the superior one.
I don't know. It's been a while since I played Metal Gear Solid.
Which is a great game in itself.
Yeah.
I should revisit that. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of like that. And he had an inferiority complex. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to prove himself to his father figure. But what's interesting is when he finds out about that he's going to die, he has, because Zidane was not granted the lifespan, huh?
Right.
And again, you know what I thought about too? Blade Runner, one of my favorite movies.
Hmm.
Because, you know, you've seen Blade Runner, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, lifespan. That's what the villains want to do. They want to expand their lifespan in Blade Runner. And it's kind of like when Kuja finds out that he can't and that he's going to die, he says that's not fair and everyone must die with me. So he loses his mind. And I think that's a stark difference between him and Kefka, because Kefka's already mad before he started.
Kefka just wanted the world destroyed anyway. Like, he doesn't give a shit.
You know, what makes you hate Kefka isn't his backstory. It's what he does.
Yeah.
You know, it's the things he does that makes you hate him and the glee he takes in it.
Yeah, it was funny because, like, the moment Kuja got a sense of humanity, it drove him insane. The thought of death, the thought that he wouldn't be around anymore, that's what set him over the edge, and that's what made him such an intense villain.
I agree.
Which is crazy to think about.
It's
very humanizing for a non-humanizing person.
I agree. And it was a little bit of a nice contrast. Again, I love Kefka, but I think Kuja does not get the credit he deserves. So I think Kuja should be up there.
Well, I will say this. I'm going to skip one of my questions because one of my questions is kind of redundant.
What is it, though? Just out of curiosity.
My question was, like, why would you recommend this?
Oh.
I think that's kind of redundant because we really love the game. And if you listen to the episode, you probably know why we recommend it so much. So I'm just going to say my last question.
I'm going to skip my fourth one because we already answered it too. Most tragic moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My last question is, what is something in the game that you would change?
The speed of battles.
For me, would be that stupid-ass card game.
That card game's okay. It's not as good as Triple Triad, though.
I can't get into card games, period. I don't even like playing, like, real-life card games.
Okay. Well, yeah, you know, the problem with tradable card, because there's two kinds. There's limited card games and tradable card games. Limited ones are everything's in the box. You have to play what's there.
Yeah.
Trading card games are the ones where, like Magic the Gathering and such. And I think you would enjoy a limited card game more than a trading one because this problem is actually in Final Fantasy IX. You may not have good cards, and you'll meet some motherfucker with with better cards, and they'll beat you, and that's what happens in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like the fact that, one of the things I didn't like about it was it got to the point where they introduced you to it, and then they got to the point where I was like, all right, you're going to have to play the game now. And I'm like, I don't want to play this card game.
Can we agree on something, though?
What's that?
It's better than Blitzball, dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I fuck. Worst mini game in the Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So your last question.
Yep, I'll ask it. How do you feel about the two-world concept in the game?
I thought it was kind of cool, just because it was like you're referring to the crystal world compared to the real world.
The real world, and then Kuja and Zidane's world mostly.
Yeah.
Remember how that world was trying to destroy Gaia? I think is the name of the main world to preserve itself.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the whole soul transfer thing?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's been a while since I've played it. I'm trying to remember it because I remember because I was thinking of it was like the other because it had to do with the crystals though, right?
Yes.
That's right.
Well, the crystal world is the final. The crystal world, the way I looked at it at the end of the game was it's the center of the Final Fantasy multiverse.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to just destroy the world. He wanted to destroy everything.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a grand crystal that, I guess from what I understand, preserves the whole universe. So they weren't just saving the world, they were saving the universe from Kuja.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This game's still fresh. I beat it a couple weeks ago, so.
Yeah, it's been because I've played some of it on the Switch. I haven't beaten it yet, but it's been a while since I've beaten it. But
It,
I remember like a lot of it because it's one of my favorites
I'll
in the
tell you something to
series.
look forward to when you beat it, though.
What's that?
You unlock all the movies and you can watch them whenever.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. So you unlock all the movies and then you get a blackjack game. You can play blackjack.
Oh joy!
I know you don't like card games. I don't know what the point of playing blackjack is though.
I have no idea.
Yeah, but it's really a weird thing. But yeah, yeah. So you can look forward to blackjack, Xander.
Hell yeah! What did you think about the two world concept?
I liked it, and it's something that Final Fantasy does a lot
Yeah.
in different ways. I think six is the big other one. You know, it's still the same world, but it's a different world because the world gets destroyed essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, you do it in this one, and then even 13. I know you don't like 13, but there was the world above and the world below.
Didn't even Final Fantasy X kind of had that too, right?
The dream, yeah, the Dream Xanakin,
Yeah.
the Dream Xanakin,
I
where
mean, hell,
Titus is from.
hell, you could even say that they have it in Final Fantasy VII with the Cloud Psychosis.
Yeah, yeah, I can agree to that. And then even if I remember at 8, you go into the future or something.
Mm-hmm.
Right? At the end of the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, the Final Fantasy does the true world concept a lot.
Hmm.
So, yeah, did you ever think about that?
I never thought about it. Never thought about
I
it
didn't
that
think
way.
about I didn't think about it until I wrote that question.
That is interesting, though.
Yeah, it seems 15, even 15 does it to a degree. They have their own world of ruin, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, I don't know. But Xander, let me ask you one last thing, and I think we could close it out on this. How do you feel about Final Fantasy IX in general?
It's probably one of my favorite Final Fantasies of all time. Like
I'm with you.
I love it. I love the soundtrack, the art style, the story. It was a great swan song of the PlayStation 1 era in general, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the last Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a good one to go off. I think those three Final Fantasy. I know 8 gets a lot of shit, but I enjoyed 8 when I played it.
Yeah.
So even if I don't like it now, I got some value out of it back in the day.
Yeah, it's definitely.
So I think the three Final Fantasies on PlayStation went out with a bang.
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't know if you know this though, real quick trivia, but did you know that this was intended to be a side game?
I didn't know that.
And the reason it was intended to be a side game was there was debate over some of the people in Square thought Final Fantasy evolved into what 8 was, and that they should proceed with the more futuristic elements.
Ah.
But I think Sakaguchi said Final Fantasy needs to differentiate itself. So while this game was in development, which a lot of people don't know, it was in development. It started development midway through 8's development. That's why it was released so quickly.
It makes
So,
sense.
yeah. And what's really neat about it, my friend, is that they made it into a full game because they came to the conclusion that like I said, Final Fantasy needs to differentiate itself, not just be futuristic things, which I think it has carried that because, despite how we feel about 12 is a little bit more of a medieval game. 13 is kind of a technological game. 14 goes back to the medieval roots. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And we both love 14. We got to do a show.
14 is like a love letter to Final Fantasy fans.
I want to go back to 14 because it's the Final Fantasy that never ends. It's the no Final Fantasy. So
and like I said, it's a love letter. There's so many elements of other Final Fantasies in the universes. I mean from the time that Lightning comes back and you fight with her to battling Kifka.
Mm-hmm.
You know? They have a whole DLC that's like Final Fantasy 4 based.
Yeah. I want to ask you something, Xander. Maybe one of these days, I know you and I are strapped on time.
Mm-hmm.
We can agree on that. But one of these days, I think we should go back to 14.
Yeah. Yeah, one day be nice.
I just got to make sure I have $15 because there's so much shit coming out. Like Cuphead. So,
yeah.
There you go. But that's all I got to say. 9's a great game.
Indeed, indeed. And yeah, this is going to wrap up another episode. For folks that are listening, definitely leave some comments. Tell us some of the things that you like, and gush about some Final Fantasy IX. We'll be joining in the comments. And yeah, we'll be back very soon. So until next time, we're blasting off to another episode.